Let's talk about something you probably have on your desk right now, maybe even within arm's reach, a USB device. Yeah, it seems totally harmless, maybe even a little boring. But what if I told you it could be one of the most effective Trojan horses in the entire digital world? So let's just start with a simple scenario. Picture this. You're walking to your car, and you spot this thing just lying on the ground. A stray flash drive. Nobody's around. What do you do? I mean, really, what do you do? Do you pick it up and, just out of pure curiosity, plug it into your computer to see what's on it? Well, if you said yes, you are definitely not alone. Not by a long shot. In a now famous social engineering experiment, security researchers scattered a bunch of USB drives in a corporate parking lot. And the result? Almost 50%, half, of them were picked up and plugged right into company computers. Now look, this isn't about people being foolish or dumb. This is about a vulnerability that's way deeper than just software. It's an exploit of a very basic human trait, our curiosity. And it works so well because of a fundamental misunderstanding most of us have about these little devices. So, this is the crucial point right here. We've all been taught to think about USB drives in a way that is just dangerously wrong. We think that as long as we don't click on some weird-looking file, we're safe. And that simple belief, that's the lethal misconception that this whole security threat is built on. And that brings us right to the core of the problem. You see, a malicious USB device isn't just a container for bad files. It's an actor. It's a device that can flat out lie to your computer about its very identity, turning it into the ultimate Trojan horse. This right here, this comparison, frames the entire issue perfectly. We look at a USB drive and we think, oh, it's a passive storage box, a digital filing cabinet. But in reality, it can be something much more active. It can tell your computer, hi, I'm a keyboard, and your computer will just believe it, no questions asked. This whole trick works because of something called the Human Interface Device Protocol, or HID for short. Your computer is literally designed to automatically trust anything that says it's a keyboard or a mouse. It kind of has to, otherwise you couldn't even log in to run a security scan. There's no password, no verification, just blind absolute trust. And that is the vulnerability. So once hackers figured out how to exploit this blind trust, well, they developed a whole arsenal of tools designed to look like completely innocent USB devices. And these tools, they enable some really specific and frankly terrifying attacks. So first up is the famous USB Rubber Ducky. This thing pretends to be a keyboard that can type at an incredible 1,000 words per minute. Before you can even process that the drive isn't working, it has already popped open a command line, typed and executed a malicious script to give a hacker full remote access, and then, poof, closed the window and erased its tracks. All of that happens in less than 3 seconds. Okay, but what if the attack wasn't some special device, but a totally normal USB drive that's just been turned evil? That's bad USB. In this case, the malware isn't a file sitting on the drive. Nope, it's been programmed directly into the firmware. That's the core software that tells the hardware how to work. Your antivirus software scans for bad files. It doesn't scan the internal logic of a controller chip, which makes this threat completely invisible. You know, not all attacks are about stealing your data. Some are purely about destruction. And that brings us to this number, -200 volts. What on earth does that mean? Well, it's the calling card of a device known as the USB killer. The USB killer does one thing and one thing only. It draws power from your USB port, stores it up in these little capacitors, and then unleashes a massive -200 volt surge right back into your computer's data lines. The result is instant, catastrophic hardware failure. As the source material so vividly puts it, your expensive machine becomes a useless brick of melted silicone and burnt plastic. And the threat has evolved to become almost completely invisible. Take the OMG cable. It looks, feels, and works exactly like a standard charging cable you'd get with your phone. But hidden inside is a tiny Wi-Fi chip. A hacker can just connect to it from their car outside and trigger a keystroke attack remotely, long after you've forgotten you even plugged it in. All right, that is a lot of bad news. I know. It can really feel like the USB port is just this indefensible weak point. But it's not. There are very concrete, very effective steps you can take to protect yourself. The first and easiest line of defense is this handy little gadget, often nicknamed a USB condom. It's a small adapter that sits between your charging cable and the USB port. And what it does is crucial. It physically disconnects the data pins, which means only power can get through. This makes those public charging stations at airports and cafes completely safe from data theft, a practice known as juice jacking. So here's your takeaway checklist. For personal use, especially when you're traveling, a data blocker is absolutely essential. In a corporate environment, IT departments can use software to whitelist approved devices, basically preventing anything unknown from being recognized. For super sensitive areas, you can even use physical locks to just block the ports entirely. But the most important defense is also the simplest one. It's the golden rule. Never, ever plug in a device you don't own and trust. Period.
And that really brings us to our final thought. The whole idea of plug and play was born in an era of trust that, let's be honest, just doesn't exist anymore. The USB port is a direct gateway to the very heart of our computers, and realizing that means we have to shift our mindset from one of blind trust to one of zero trust. So the question to leave you with is this: are we willing to trade just a little bit of that instant convenience for a whole lot more security?